Hey there, Fletcher from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm going to be talking about my second piece of Sea-II Summit gear that I picked up recently. If you haven't watched it, I did do a video on the Sea-II Summit Aero Pillow. This thing is an amazing little pillow. It folds up to about the size of my palm and is just really cool and super comfy. So I'll put a card up here to that video as well. And part two of my Sea-II Summit gear pickup is the Ascent AC-II sleeping bag. This thing is a 15-degree bag. They have a 0 degree, a 15 degree, and then warmer temps too. I'm more of a fall winter camper, so I went with the 15 degree to kind of meet it in the middle. The nice thing about this is that this is a super high quality sleeping bag, and it's got a ton of down filling in it with 750 plus loft. So if you know anything about sleeping bags, the more loft that a sleeping bag has, the warmer it's going to be. I am coming out of a $40 Coleman sleeping bag. So for me, this thing is going to be incredible. And that's why I was so excited to pick it up. As I've kind of done this longer and longer, I've started to realize that just having the cheapest gear is maybe not the cheapest way to do it. And sometimes it can make your trips horrible. So again, went with a little bit more pricey Sea-II Summit sleeping bag, but hope to run this thing for the next 6, 8, 10 years, right? Hopefully this will last for a long time and be a really great sleeping bag that will keep me really warm in lower temps than what the Coleman could. I'm going to give you all the specs on this thing and kind of my thoughts about it, but it's not going to be a full review. I'll do that maybe 6, 8 months down the road after I've used it for a while. I'll give you kind of a long-term review. But today I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this sleeping bag. If you're looking for a really high quality, a little bit pricier sleeping bag to sort of up your game for camping and overlanding. So if you want to learn more about the Sea-II Summit Ascent AC-II sleeping bag, stay tuned.
Understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, so let's start by checking this thing out. First, just right off the bat, I can tell you one thing that I am thrilled about with this, and that is this bag. So one, it's breathable. So if you did happen to get your sleeping bag wet or anything like that, it's going to allow it to dry out. It's going to prevent mold and things like that, which I really like. But two, and most importantly, is that the bag is huge, right? One, the sleeping bag is super lofty. I mean, you can see how much I can compress it. But the sleeping bag that you put the sleeping bag in is oftentimes so tight and so tiny that you can never get it back in the bag. I love this design that it's got a zipper on it, so there's no ropes to mess with like my Coleman, you know, those strings that you have to like tie in knots around it, or any of the difficulties that come with a lot of those cheaper sleeping bags. With this, you get this really nice, really comfy sleeping bag with this really nice, big, easy to open, zippable package, which I really like. So one thing that I really like that they include in here is they give you a nice little letter that kind of explains a little bit about the sleeping bag and things like that. And then they also include a down test report. So basically this report shows they do a test to confirm how much down is contained in the sleeping bag. The thing about that though is, again, with these cheaper sleeping bags, they use a synthetic interior material that is inferior to down, and it just doesn't pack the same warmth factor in it as a really nice sleeping bag like this. So even though this is a 15-degree bag, I'm extremely confident that this is going to be warmer than my 0-degree Coleman bag that I had before that was $40, right? There's a reason that it's $40. So to have a really good, really long-lasting, really warm sleeping bag is key to being comfortable when you're camping. And I like that they include this stuff with it. I'm not going to be packing my sleeping bag back down into this bag every single time that I use it. I intend to leave it in my rooftop tent. The fact that it folds down so small and it compresses so much is going to be huge in allowing it to stay in my rooftop tent and make things more convenient for me. Now, if you did need to compress it down and make it a much smaller package than this, it does also include a stuff sack with a top on it, which is really nice. So this thing is so squishy, you could just crush this down into this stuff sack, and then you could store it inside of that to make it have a smaller footprint. Then I think you could use this if you were intending to like throw it on a shelf or something at home and you needed a bigger bag just to make it easier to get into, or if you needed it to dry out. So in looking at the features of this thing, it's saying that you're going to be really comfortable in the 20s in it. It's going to be at the lower limit in about the 15 degrees. And then if you got to negative 19 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to be pretty extreme and you're going to be cold even in this sleeping bag. Now, when I go, I usually use something like a diesel heater or a heated blanket in addition to my sleeping bag. So if I'm going in like negative temps or single digits, I will have something else anyways. But this thing should keep me warm in most of the conditions that I go in. Like tonight, it's probably going to be in the 20s or 30s. So this should be perfect. So now I'm going to hold this thing up just so that you can see the size of it. This is a long, so they have a regular length and then they have a long length. Since I'm 6'2", I went with the longer one. So just FYI, there are a couple of options for this sleeping bag. But as you can see, I mean, this thing is plenty long. I'm going to be very comfortable, whereas on my last sleeping bag, I was always really tight in it, and it wasn't very comfortable. So I'm excited to try this thing out because I think that it will be a lot more comfortable and a lot warmer than the old one, and it'll just give me more room so I don't feel so mummified in it. A couple of features that are really nice and interesting is that it has this extended draft tube down the side that reduces heat loss through the zipper. It also has one around the hood up here so that it helps keep that heat in around your head so you're not losing so much heat around your head. So again, they thoughtfully designed this thing. They thought about everything. They made it of the top quality materials so that it's meant to last for a long time. It's super ultra light. It folds down as small as possible. And again, for my rooftop tent needs, this thing is going to compress really well and almost be like nothing's up there, which is really nice and allows me to not have to take it out every single time that I come home. All right, so speaking of zippers, let's check out kind of just this hood area up here at the top and how this is all made. They're YKK zippers, so they're really high quality, good zippers that shouldn't hang up, shouldn't snag. They're designed to be anti-snag. Got this little button snap here that kind of keeps everything locked up at the top so that it can't unzip itself or come apart. And then you've got these YKK zippers, which I can already tell just from unzipping it a little bit. They're so smooth. My Coleman bag right now is currently broken. The zipper broke about a year ago, and I've never been able to get it fixed. So I've just been using it almost like a blanket and not a sleeping bag, which hasn't really helped this winter. But so then you've got zippers on both sides, which is really nice. So you've got options as far as opening it up. Some nights when it's warmer and stuff, I will probably just undo both sides of the zipper and then just use it like a blanket, which is just another benefit, right? Another thing that I like is that they've got all the stuff printed on the inside here. So you've got what it is, the loft, how much down is in it. You've got your comfort ranges. So right there on the bag, even if you didn't have the instructions or anything, if you ever had questions, you've got all the info you need on the inside of the bag. All right, so that was the info on the Summit Ascent AC-II sleeping bag that I plan to run through winter and fall and pretty much year round. Just again, I'll unzip it and I'll use it more like a blanket when it's warmer out. And then when it gets cold, I'll zip it up, do it more like a mummy style that will keep the heat in and keep me nice and warm. And I'm really looking forward to checking it out. Again, I'm gonna use it tonight. I will come back after the trip and I'll kind of give you my feelings on it and my final thoughts, and I'll let you know if I was cold or not and what the temps were tonight. So I will give you kind of an update on that, but it'll just be an initial impression, right? Again, down the road, I'll do another video that'll be a little bit more in-depth and more of a review, but this was just to, again, share the specs with you, kind of share what I'm getting ready to use and why I switched to this particular bag. All right, so as you were just watching, I was getting ready to go to sleep for the night and try out my new Ascent AC-II sleeping bag, 15-degree bag from Summit. Obviously, I survived, right? It did get a little bit colder than I expected it to. It got down into the 20s, low 30s that night, but not bad at all. And actually, the fact that the sleeping bag is a long sleeping bag was pretty game-changing for me. From my old Coleman bag going to this new bag, the Coleman was literally like I felt like a mummy. I felt like I couldn't move at all, kind of claustrophobic a little bit. Wasn't the most comfortable sleep I've ever had, and it kind of just wasn't great. And then when the zipper broke a year ago, then I basically just had like a blanket that I kind of try and tuck over myself to stay warm, and it has definitely not been ideal. So in switching to the Summit, my goal was to get away from sort of the cheaper, budget-minded sleeping bags, because the sleeping bag is so important to, you know, remaining warm at night, especially in colder temps, which is when I primarily go, and then also your comfort, right? Like, to be able to sleep and have a good night's sleep is really important, and to have a good, comfortable sleeping bag is also nice, especially because I rely on a lot of additional gear that's complex. So like a diesel heater or an electric blanket, things like that that have power needs. If those were ever to fail and you have a crappy sleeping bag or something that's just not going to keep you warm, you could be in a dangerous situation. Or at the very least, you're going to have to like run your truck all night and sleep in your vehicle, which is hard on the vehicle. It's not comfortable. It's just not a great option. So having some redundant, non-mechanical, non-complex backups like a really good sleeping bag is just a good safety measure, and also just a nice thing to have. So, you know, super, super happy with this bag. Amazed with it, actually, compared to my old Coleman, which was technically a 0-degree bag, and this is a 15-degree bag. This felt way warmer than my 0-degree bag did, even by itself. So super impressed with it, super impressed with the construction of it. Of course, I've heard such good things about Summit. I know a bunch of people that run it. I have a bunch of backpacking friends that really like Summit stuff. So that was kind of where my head went when I was looking to upgrade my stuff, was why Summit? Because they're a good known brand. They're kind of ultralight, lighter weight, smaller footprint stuff, which saves me space in my packing and allows me to put more stuff in the truck, right? So all of that proved true, and I was really impressed with this first night's of sleep in the sleeping bag. So again, check out those links in the description down below if you want to get one of your own. Also in the description down below will be links to all my social channels, so wherever you'd like to join the conversation, I'd love to have you come get more all things overlanding and come talk with me over on the other channels like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you want to come hang out. I'm also on LinkedIn, so if you're on LinkedIn, if you're a business related to overlanding and you're looking for overlanding content on LinkedIn, which is not very easy to find, check out all things overlanding over there. There's also a button down below this video that says join. That is for YouTube memberships. It's been around for a little while. I just finally kind of bit the bullet and gave in, and I'm giving it a shot. It's just a way to support the channel. No pressure whatsoever, but if you want to support the channel, that's a way that you can easily do it, get early access to videos and other perks like that. Or in the description down below is a link to my Patreon group. We've got a 24/7 Discord over there, and we all kind of chat, and it's a ton of fun. So if you want to do that, that'd be cool too. And then last but not least, there is the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group. Totally free to join, tons of awesome members, great for new folks and experienced folks alike because it's different than the big groups. There's not a bunch of bullying going on. People are actually helping each other, and it's a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something like that, we'd love to have you. But again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.